are, of course,
Nabila, stay on with me because Nabila is on the ground and she's assessing the ground situation. The court, remember, the time will be a matter here. All my colleagues there tracking different aspects. Nolan Pinto, I'm coming quickly across to you now. What is the update coming in from the court? Because this reference and suggestion that has gone from the judge, both sides, are they still urging the judge to ensure that at least as of now this matter is heard, at least looking at the 2 months which will be of significance right now as the academic year comes to a close? Nolan.
Pooja, the update that I'm getting as of now is that Justice Dixit, I want to quote him, he said it is wiser to let the larger bench hear this matter. Now, when he said this, both the sides have actually spoken with the Advocate General saying ultimately it is the prerogative of the court. And now Advocate Kamit saying, let the matter be sent to a larger bench, but let the students follow their faith and go back to school. So it looks like slowly with Justice Dixit asking and requesting that this matter be best looked into by a larger bench. Initially, both the sides, the Advocate General representing the government and the petitioners' advocates were that let's finish it today itself. In fact, one of the advocates had stated that many judgments in the past have been taken. The order has been given by a single judge. So it is also possible over here that they have faith in Justice Dixit. But as of now, it looks like both sides are slowly coming to terms with the fact that most probably this issue might be referred to a larger bench. But again, Advocate Kamit wants this. He says that let the students follow their faith and go back to school. This is the crux of the problem, because even yesterday he had asked this and the Advocate General had said no. The Karnataka government's main point is this: you want to enter classes, you have to follow the rules. So now we have to actually wait and see what
Nolan,
they
stay
actually
on with me. I
will
want to quickly go across to Shija as well on the ground. Yes, Shija, what are you picking up? Because this, according to the AG, is becoming a law and order issue. Are you witnessing agitations and protests there on the ground? And before I go across to my other colleagues, what is the ground situation?
There is no agitation as such right now here. All are waiting for the final judgment to come. After that, you can really see what is going to happen, you know, exactly what is going to happen in the field. But as of now, all are just waiting to get the judgment. One thing. Second thing, now after 2 months of this controversy, now Campus Front of India have come in front of the media and agreed that they are giving support to the hijab girls who wanted to wear it. And on the third thing, which is most important, is the ultimate, whatever, if the judgment comes against them, this Campus Front of India had told that they will give complete support and go to the, they will take the issue legally itself. They will not do any kind of a fuss in the colleges further, but they will take the issue legally and will move forward. This is what they have come. They have told, you know, they completely agree that they were with the students. They were supporting the parents and the hijab girls. And, you know, there was always said that we were not allowed to give statements. We were not allowed to speak to others. We are together. So these things were going on. Now, at this juncture, they have come in front and started saying what who they were referring as they, you know. So at one side it is happening, and another thing I wanted to make it very clear that, see, in the initial stage when there was a problem between the campus and the students, it was noticed that the management was ready to give the students online classes. They said if you are not ready to enter the class with hijab, you know, online classes will be provided to you girls. So you can attend that from home. But this was not agreed by the girls at that time, and they wanted to visit the school on a daily basis, after which the management had forced them to stand out of the gate.
Yes, Shija, so be with us. I'll just come back to you for more on that. Of course, the girls have rejected that very well, saying that we've been out of college, we've not been receiving physical classes for days, weeks and months together, and why should we now once again take online classes? Going across straight now to Nolan Pinto. Nolan, for the benefit of our viewers, take us through the details of the developments in court, the set of arguments that have been made so far, not just today but also yesterday by the petitioners.
Well, in fact, let's start with yesterday. So initially, before the hearing began, the petitioner's advocate requested once more to the Advocate General and through Justice Dixit, who's actually hearing this particular case, that why not? It's just about 2 months, February and March. Let the students wear their hijab. Let it just go about as normal because April onward, exams begin. The Advocate General representing the government stated that that will not be allowed because this is the Karnataka Education Act 1983 states that if you enter a school or classroom, that is, I beg your pardon, you will have to wear a uniform. And that is when the deliberations began, when the government said no, they won't accept. They were focusing on these issues. One, is the hijab integral to Islam? So wearing a hijab integral to Islam. Point two, is the hijab a facet of the fundamental right to speech, freedom of speech and expression? And point three, did the government of Karnataka overstep its authority in issuing the GO, the government order? Now, yesterday, nothing much happened as such because they deliberated on all these issues and also on public order. What's happening now is very interesting because as soon as the hearing began, Justice Dixit actually said if it is all right, if it is acceptable to both the parties, that is the petitioner's advocate and also the Advocate General, this matter be referred to a larger bench. Now, initially, both the Advocate General as well as the petitioner's advocate stated that they have full faith in Justice Dixit that he will be able to actually give them a fair verdict, and that keeping in mind the situation outside over here and how important you're looking at time frame as of now, it would be better if he actually comes and gives an order today itself. But it's in the past 5 minutes, Neha, this is the information we are getting over here. The Advocate General says, ultimately, I'm quoting him, ultimately it is the prerogative of the court. The court should decide whether or not this should be referred to a larger bench. Even the petitioner's advocate, Advocate Kamath, says, let the matter be sent to a larger bench, but let the students follow their faith and go back to school. Again, this creates havoc. And that is why the Advocate General, as of now, says, I wanted to say that the petitions are misconceived. They have questioned the government's GO, government order. Each institution has been given autonomy. State does not take a decision. Therefore, prima facie, case is not made out. And as of now, the Karnataka government over here through the Bengaluru police have also issued prohibitory orders under section 144(1) of the CRPC, which bans any sort of gatherings, agitation or protest within 200 meters radius of schools, PU colleges, degree colleges for the next 2 weeks. This is the breaking news as of now, which is just coming in.
Nolan, be with us. Just come back to you for more on that story in a bit, going across straight to Nabila Jamal also, who is in fact tracking the ground situation. Nabila, what is the situation like in different districts, given that we saw this spiral really go out of hand yesterday with the police also lathi charging protesters in a district? Just give us an idea about how things are and whether things are being brought under control.
Right. You know, Sneha, right now the situation seems calm because the Karnataka government has announced 3-day holidays for schools and colleges only because it had become a law and order situation which wasn't expected. But what we're concerned is that how did the Karnataka government not see this issue escalate so quickly? It smacked us on the face so hard. Girls were standing out wearing the hijab and insisting that they want to wear it inside classrooms. They were in fact trying to persuade their institutions, their managements for at least a week. When a week later, the boys came in wearing saffron shawls in a counter protest, and this happened for at least 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, we saw a massive showdown at the MGM college, which is just right up the road where I am, Sneha. In fact, prohibitory orders have been imposed in Udupi, section 144 in some parts of this area, particularly close to the MGM college, etc. Restrictions have been imposed only because of the kind of situation that escalated. You had boys with saffron shawls opposing the girls wearing hijab to enter college premises, and the girls were insisting were even heckled by these boys wearing saffron shawls. On both ends, the students at max or at best are saying what they know or what they believe to be is true and is just. At the end, it's the court to decide whether a religious symbol is allowed inside educational institution or not. So long, if you ask me about Karnataka practicing or allowing hijab inside classrooms and colleges, yes. it was very much allowed. In fact, several generations of students have studied in government colleges, in private institutions in Karnataka, wearing the hijab in the past. So this rule that the government has imposed now, first of all, has been freshly issued. A fresh notification was issued on the 4th of February, where the Karnataka government backed the hijab ban entirely across government colleges. They say, the ban says you can wear it in private colleges if they allow you to, but not in government colleges. So this is a government stance. It's not an individual institution, let me remind you. This is what we heard one of the BJP spokespersons speak as well, saying that this is an individual institution. The Udupi government PU college individually insisted that the girls do not enter classrooms without the hijab. It is not the government's decision. Government has said there should be uniformity. But the truth here is, it's not just that one government college. That government college, Udupi government college, started off, and then you had a ripple effect. At least 6 government colleges in that entire region of Udupi told their students wearing the hijab not to come inside classes wearing it. You've got to take it off right outside college and come inside college without the hijab. So this was an order that they obeyed, that was given by the government of Karnataka. So this is the Karnataka government's mandate indeed. It's not an institution specific, but nonetheless, you had generations of students wearing the hijab in the past. So this is a new rule that has been enforced. Uniformity has been propagated by governments successive governments in the past in Karnataka, saying that there must be uniformity inside classrooms. Many girls wearing the hijab always had their personal equations with their school management and would somehow persuade them to allow them to wear the hijab, and it was based on your personal equation that you would be allowed or not. There were institutions that wouldn't allow it. In fact, let me tell you, I studied in a Christian missionary institution in Bengaluru, where they were outrightly opposing hijab inside the Christian missionary institution, and that was a case that was taken up in the Kerala High Court there. Sneha, if one remember, in fact, the Karnataka government has been constantly quoting the Kerala High Court's order on hijab ban, but that was a specific case where it comes to a minority institution. And then we're also talking about raising the issue of the Mumbai High Court issuing a ban on hijab, but then again, that also was specific to wearing a hijab inside examination halls. Hijab inside examination halls is not going to be allowed, is what the Bombay High Court says. But today, what the Karnataka High Court is going to be hearing is definitely going to be a landmark judgment, because it will be speaking of wearing hijab inside educational institutions pan-India. This could be certainly an example set anywhere else. If at all a row erupts, then this will be an example that will be taken up, which is why it appears that the judge and the bench that's observing this case also is wanting a more finer, detailed opinion on to try and understand how important is hijab to the Islamic faith and whether or not it should be allowed. And if it is allowed, then should we be allowing other religious symbols also, just like a hijab, inside classrooms? So this is a lot of deliberation to do, and it appears that both judges thankfully are on the same page when it comes to issuing an order at the earliest. They're wanting, because the situation is still very tense here, there is a 3-day closure for schools and colleges. One can't afford to prolong this any longer, Sneha, and we're really hoping for a judgment to come about at the earliest.
Well, absolutely. That is important, and whichever side of the debate we really are on, what one can't forget, and I'm going to go back to Akshita, my colleague, for more on that, is that defining image where Muskan, one of the students, was heckled by young men shouting slogans at her, and clearly an attempt to intimidate. Mustafa, what is the sense that you're picking up when it comes to these kinds of intimidation tactics by students, some of them hooligans / gundas, trying to create a law and order situation?
Well, clearly it looks like the situation has escalated. But again, we'll just take you where we are right now. It's the PU Girls College where this entire hijab row started. The colleges have now been shut as per the orders. We'll just show you a board outside because Nabila was pointing out about wearing of hijabs in particular schools in Udupi. So there is one girl which we can see in hijab in the last row. This is 2019-20 batch, and it's the pass outs and the toppers of the 12th standard, and one girl is clearly seen here in the photo which has been placed outside this PU college where the entire controversy started, that the girl is seen wearing a hijab. So this is one part of it. The other part is the school managements and the college managements who are taking a decision that hijab should not be allowed. But at the same point of time, the students were not ready to agree to these new conditions, and they said that they will not come to the classes, and hence this entire issue escalated. And now we are getting to see student unions which are involved. Yesterday there was clashes between police and student protests, a lot of protests which took place, and some students and some policemen were injured in this entire episode. So clearly from where it started, which is the location behind us, it has escalated to an issue then becoming a larger issue of whether hijab forms an integral part of practicing Islam or not. So the court, as of now, Bombay High Court, whatever observations they have given, they don't look that they will be deciding on this matter today, because they are referring it to what we call the larger bench. But both advocates from both the sides are saying that some interim order should be passed, but we'll have to wait and see what the court decides. Back to you.
Yes, be with us, Mustafa. Going to go once again to Nolan Pinto, getting us all the developments from court. Nolan, over to you for the very latest as far as the arguments are concerned.
Well, Sneha, since everyone's been speaking about whether hijab is integral to religious practice, the Advocate General, say about 5 minutes ago, has actually spoken on this. He says, and to quote him, there are large judgments which say that hijab does not form integral part of the religious practice. The test that if they don't practice the religion itself goes. He says, Justice Mustaq judgment, which is so-called against the state, kindly referred to it, and he refers to it. Let me read that. He says, however, it's just 2 sentences. However, there is a possibility of having different views or opinions for the believers of Islam based on independent reasoning. This court is not discarding such views. The possibility of having different propositions is not a ground to deny the freedom if such propositions have some foundation in the claim, as has been averted above. The claim. This is what he has actually stated as of here, clearly telling the advocates, petitioners that fine, the government has no issue if the students want to head back to college, but they have to follow the rules. However, the advocates, petitioners, basically Advocate Kamath says, my interim prayer is that leave aside the challenge to the government order. Please permit me to go back to school wearing my clothes. Don't leave it to the mercy of some principal or the CDC. So these are the developments as of now.
Nolan Pinto getting us the very latest. Shija also continues to be with us, talking about the situation as far as prohibitory orders are concerned. Do tell us the kind of steps that have been taken by the administration. Of course, schools and colleges have been shut for 3 days. That is a precautionary measure. But what else is happening on the ground? Because the concern, and that's something that is really on top of the priority list of everyone, that things should not really go out of hand. Because what we saw yesterday from many districts, not just Udupi or Mandya, but other districts also, was very disturbing. Shija.
Yes, ma'am. It's very... one thing we should remember that, the women's here, the entire matter has been dragged. The entire matter has been dragged on a different way. It is started in a campus when it is a campus with 1,000 students. Okay, the government PU college here have 1,000 students. Of this, around 80 students are Muslims. These 80 students have had no problem with college management, whatever their rules was. The problem was only for the 8 students initially. Later it has reduced it to 6. But we should remember that this is what it is. Not that all the students are against the management or against the government. This is a small campus issue. It was being raised into a totally different issue, matter now. Now people are talking about women wearing dresses and dress codes, and it has been criticized in that way. See, it is not like that. Yesterday one student clearly told that we don't have any problem if the burqa has been worn or the hijab has been worn. No, we have no issue. They can wear it, they can come to the campus, they can even go to the canteen, bathroom, wherever they want. It is just the classroom they wanted their hijab to be removed. So I wanted to make it very clear that students somehow wanted things to be in proper way, and they're also looking forward for the verdict so that this entire thing can finish and they get into the their academics back.
Yes. Be with us, Shija, just coming back to you for more. Nolan, once again to you, both in fact sides have told the court that they want this matter to be heard by a larger bench given the kind of sensitivities involved. Also the petitioners in this case arguing that heavens won't fall if what has been going on continues and if law and order is something that is taken care by the government. Let us continue because the girls clearly have said we are not in favor of online education. Why should we go back to it?
Sneha, I just have to bring this update because when we are talking, what my colleague was actually explaining in what's happening in Udupi in Kundapur, Advocate Povaya, he represents the Kundapur College. In fact, as of now, what he says is this: I represent the CDC, which runs the college. Prescription of uniform was there since 1 year. Nobody complained earlier, now it is raised. He says the CDC is the College Development Committee, has met every year and all stakeholders have been consulted and the decision was passed keeping in mind after discussing with everyone. So as of now, the CDC, basically Sajan Povaya representing them, has opposed the interim relief, saying lordships may not consider any interim relief. So basically for the college, the Advocate General say no interim relief as such, but the advocate representing the petitioners is requesting that the students be allowed to head back to school wearing their own clothes till this matter is resolved.
Nolan Pinto, do continue to be with us. Well, that's what the petitioners have argued in this case, but there are concerns when it comes to the law and order situation. This has played out politically as well, obviously, in the run-up to elections, and many have then raised the question on the kind of the timing of this, essentially, on whether these tensions particularly have been stoked to benefit political parties just before elections in the state of Karnataka. Nabila, you know, this is an obvious argument to make, isn't it, that it suits our netas essentially when we see polarization at this level, at the university level, at the school level, where we have students of different communities pitted against each other. And the timing of this is rather interesting, isn't it?
Absolutely. This is no more politics, and that's what is so concerning here, Sneha, that this is seeped down to educational institutions where students there are so very well aware of their religious identity that they're literally opposing the other, while ideally students go to schools or colleges to learn about cultural diversity, integrity, and just peace and harmony. It's so upsetting that this kind of religious differences is seen in a college level, a PU level. I'm talking about 12th standard. They're so young as 15, 16-year-olds who are now coming out and insisting that they want to wear their religious symbol, be it the hijab, be it the saffron scarf. And that's what's very concerning, because now the Karnataka government has decided to close schools and colleges. What's the message that it sends out? It sends out a message that this is an issue that has snowballed. Students are, of course, very well aware across the state of Karnataka now that there is a massive row over hijab, wearing hijab or wearing saffron robes inside classrooms, and therefore the Karnataka government has issued shutdown of schools for the next 3 days, only to sort the situation out. It's going to be in every student's mind. They're going to be mulling over it, thinking over it. There's going to be a lot of deliberation and a lot of talk in their homes, and that's something that we never imagined would happen, but that has sparked a massive debate now in possibly every household and every dining room, where students now are very well aware that the 3-day closure of schools and colleges in Karnataka is because of religious differences, because a hijab or a saffron shawl is not being allowed inside class, one against the other, opposing each other on the same. Politics, of course, brewing right at the back of this. And let me tell you, successive governments have not done anything to stop this simmering situation in the coastal belt. Karnataka's coastal belt has been highly polarized over the last decades. It's not new. This is a very volatile area where you see the fringe elements working constantly. And now, in fact, just earlier today, you had the PFI coming out to blame the ABVP, accusing them of being the BJP's right wing to try and instigate students to wear shawls. In fact, the ABVP handed over saffron shawls to these boys to come and protest. While on the other hand, the Karnataka government blames the SDPI for trying to instigate the Muslim girls to be more adamant. In fact, some of the girls we hear were not even wearing the hijab before this entire controversy snowballed. They were in fact, they took oath in that same college without wearing a hijab. And then when this situation, thickened, that's when they came to college wearing the hijab, saying, now I want to wear the hijab, whether I wear it or not, it's my will and wish. So we are seeing hardened stands on both ends, and that really does not suit the state of Karnataka, which has been so long very culturally diverse and friendly on the ground there, Sneha.
Yes, absolutely. Nabila, be with us. I'll just come back to you for our viewers. Just taking them through the developments in court also, and I'm going to go to Nolan for more on that. Nolan, we also have Advocate Puvaya representing the Kundapura College, and he says that when this matter actually came up a year ago, when this was discussed, nobody complained earlier. Now it is raised. The prescription of uniform was there. Also sort of hardening the position, essentially saying that they oppose any sort of interim relief. Lordships may not consider any interim relief. So the college, they're saying that we've said it, we've discussed this in the past, and that there should not be any relief when it comes to the petitioners wanting to wear the hijab and then come to college.
Well, Advocate Puvaya, who's representing the Kundapur College, the CDC, that's the College Development Committee, very clearly says that they oppose the interim relief. And he explains why. He tells Justice Dikshit that representing the CDC says that prescription of uniform was there since 1 year. Nobody complained earlier. Now it's being raised. He also goes on to add that the CDC has met every year and decisions have been taken, keeping in mind that they have consulted all the stakeholders and then only passed the decision. So basically for the advocate, for the petitioners to state that they have always been wearing a hijab, the CDC over here, that is Advocate Puvaya, who is representing them, says that, sorry, rules have been made, you have signed on the dotted lines, these are the rules to be followed, this is what it is, and everyone has been following. It's just a matter of 5 to 6 girls who actually came out opposing the rules put forth by the college, which they themselves have signed.
Right, Nolan, do continue to be with us. A quick update again from Shija, getting us the ground situation. Also, before I go to Shija, once again to Mustafa to tell us a little more about the kind of steps, like I said, have been taken by the government vis-a-vis trying to bring this situation under control. Remember, viewers, this is not something that has happened over the last 2 or 3 days. In fact, India Today has been at the forefront reporting on these developments. The tension really simmering in the state of Karnataka for close to a month now. It is only that the matter has escalated and this has been blown up in such a way. It has been brought up in Parliament as well, with several political parties raising this issue and putting forth what they think are their views when it comes to the issue of religion, hijab being intrinsic to the Muslim faith. And these are questions that have been raised time and again. Mustafa, as far as the ground situation is concerned, at least for the time being, we know that things are under control after those ugly scenes that we saw from several districts yesterday, where protesters were brought under control. Lathi charge, tear gas was used against many of the students there, isn't it?
Yes, of course, Neha. And what's sad is that the school's physical classrooms had just started after with a wave after wave of COVID pandemic, which we had suffered. And this, we were as earlier saying that this is the PU college for girls in Udupi, where this entire hijab row had first started. And now what we are seeing, this is the visuals which we'll get to see outside all the schools and colleges in Karnataka as of now, which is the schools and colleges are shut, and mostly the online classes are on, and all eyes were on the verdict of the Bangalore High Court, which doesn't look like it will come in today. So it's really an uncertain future, and as Nabila was saying, a part of discussions for the students, and also somewhere between the students, in the students' mind, these are the issues now which have developed, and whether things will be normal, they'll be friends with each other again when they come back, when the schools open, when this entire issue is decided upon. So these are questions which are really being raised on institutions which are preparing our young minds, and it is a cause of concern. Back to you.
Well, absolutely. For the moment, Shija, the Karnataka government, for our viewers also who've just joined us, remember, has said that there should be peace and that they've declared a holiday for the 3 days. The government has said that we should obey what the court essentially is saying and not take things into our hands. But we saw how things got out of hand. from you an update on the ground situation and what are the students now saying. Many of them, of course, are not really appearing, are not going to college since that it's shut. But what's the sense really that you are picking on what their thoughts are about this entire matter and what they expect really from the court? Shija.
Hello. Yes, actually the thing here is, as the school is, the colleges are shut, there is nothing much happening from the side of students. However, the things are totally different from the side of politicians or some of the supporters. You know, some of the Muslim organizations now coming out, the local and national. They're just like not national but state level, but they're come in front and supporting the hijab girls. But ultimately, we all are waiting. Even management, students, all are just waiting for the judgment to come. If this was delayed, the problem might continue the same way what it's going on. Online classes are not actually practicable because students are not very convinced or happy with this, because practical exams are... Yesterday, students missed some of the practical exams, which, you know, they feel that this is the right time at least to attend the, classes now, because the final exam is supposed to come within 2 to 3 months, and at least now they should be prepared for that. So that point, they are very clear about it. Some of the religious issues are... Here we can clearly see that the religious rights are taking ahead of this... educational rights, you know, that is very important thing. What I wanted to stress is, now the entire matter is nowhere is related to education or things like that. You know, now it's been like politicized, it's been religiously taken. This is not what the entire student sector want, or this is not the entire Karnataka wants. You know, it's ultimately they wanted their academics to be cleared, because they are the PUC students, and next they have, degrees, further education to join. At this juncture, without any classes, practicals, how can they move forward? So all should get, the students also demand that all should concentrate on that particular issue than politicizing it, because elections keep coming every time. But for election's sake, you know, even the Campus Front of India alleged that the entire issue has been highlighted right now is just because they wanted to, concentrate on the next election, because these...
Yes, for our viewers, the very latest we are getting at this hour is that the single bench of Justice Krishna Dikshit has referred the hijab matter to a larger bench. So the hijab row is in Karnataka High Court, and the court has sent the matter to a larger bench, going across straight to Nolan Pinto. Both parties, in fact, wanted this matter to be referred to a larger bench, and that's what's happening. Nolan?
Well, Justice Dikshit has started to dictate his order. I'm going to quote what he said. All these matters do give rise to certain constitutional questions of seminal importance in the light of some aspect of personal law. Hence, he has now referred the hijab matter to a larger bench. He observes in the order that the question of interim relief will also be considered by the larger bench. Furthermore, I'm also getting information. He says, having regard to the enormity of questions of importance which are debated, the court is of the considered opinion that the papers be put at the hand of the Chief Justice to decide if a larger bench can be constituted in this subject matter. He's also stated that the registry has been directed to put before the Chief Justice of the consideration immediately, as there is urgency pleaded. So as of now, the issue of interim relief will be decided by the larger bench itself.
Okay. Also the update from court that Nolan is getting us with Justice Dikshit, like Nolan said, is talking about having regard to the enormity of questions of importance which are debated. The court is of the considered opinion that the papers be put at the hand of the Chief Justice to decide if a larger bench can be constituted. Nolan, this also means that this matter is going to linger on at least for a couple of days more. The big question here is the task before the Karnataka government to see and to ensure that things do not go out of hand, isn't it?
It's not going to be an easy task because as of now, colleges, that is, you're talking about pre-university, 11th and 12th, and also degree colleges are shut for only 3 days. And we saw what happened last week, yesterday, day before yesterday, how students, the moment colleges were open, everyone came over there. The women, the girl students in their hijab, the boys wearing their saffron shawls, saying that if you allow them to enter, allow us also to enter. And the government over there quite unable to actually pacify both, telling them in the interest of your studies, please stop all this. But as of now, it looks like the government has to come out with an order because he says the interim relief has been asked by both. The advocate for the petitioners said, let us go back to school, don't take away our classes, but let us allow to follow our religion. Basically, what they were saying is, let us allow them to wear their hijab. But as of now, when talking about the interim relief, the new update is this. Even interim prayers merit consideration at the hands of larger bench that may be constituted by the Chief Justice in his discretion. And therefore, the arguments advanced on interim prayers are reproduced here. Justice Dikshit has noted in his order. And he says, finally, in the above circumstances, registry is directed to place the papers before the Chief Justice for consideration immediately, considering the urgency pleaded in the petitions.
Well, absolutely. So that's a big story. A larger bench is now going to decide on the interim relief, if any, comes the way of the petitioners in this case. For our viewers, the petitioners in this case being represented by Advocate Sanjay Hegde in court have said that heavens will not fall if this continues. If women are allowed to wear hijab that they wish to and attend classes, certainly taking online classes is not an option. So, Nabila, this goes on for a couple of more days at least from here on. And like we've been talking about, at least for 3 days, the government has said schools, colleges, universities will be shut for the time being to ensure the law and order situation is under control. But what next really? There's a big question mark on how things are going to move from here on, isn't it?
Right. It's been now 2 days already that the Karnataka schools have been closed, schools and colleges. So will the government extend this ban until the court's order comes out? That remains to be seen. It's got to be done because we see prohibitory orders already in Bengaluru city. Like I said, the issue has now has really escalated in the city limits of Bengaluru as well. This has become a heated debate across institutions as well. And this, of course, I must remind you here and our viewers, Sneha, that as much as the girls say that wearing the hijab is their fundamental right, the moment issues of public order is raised, and if issues of public order is great, and concerns are great over public order, then the court can easily sidestep their fundamental right to wear the hijab. And that's what we saw, what had spanned out in the coastal belt of Karnataka, where you saw protests that escalated, where you had clashes between the hijabi girls versus the saffron-clad boys. You had protests taking place in several different parts of Karnataka. This has become a law and order situation. It has become a public order situation. That's raised serious concerns, which is why the issue of fundamental right is being discussed so intently and so dynamically, only keeping in mind public order, law and order situation in the state simultaneously. So here we see very clearly what Justice Dikshit has said, that having regard to the enormity of the questions, looking at the dynamics of this case, it's only right if they consider placing this case before a higher bench. And this is what both the lawyers, in fact, the lawyer representing the petitioners and representing the government, both of them wanted an urgent hearing for the court to fast-track a judgment on this, because looking at the situation, of course, this is more than anything else, it's also the students' education now at the back burner. They're all waiting for a judgment on this. It seems like education itself has been kept aside, but what to wear, a religious symbol to be worn or not inside educational institution has become more the center focus and a discussion for every student now, which is highly unfortunate. I'm telling you, 2 months, barely 2 months for students to write their PU exams. In fact, the government colleges, we believe, not all colleges. I heard Shrija mentioning that one of the colleges, Udupi Government College, said that we'll give you online education to the girls who are wearing the hijab. Don't come to class with the hijab, but we'll give you online education until the court gives an order. They refuse to take online education, saying that it's not effective, and they've had enough of it over the last 2 years of the pandemic. They want to come to classes, attend classes in person, like they were doing so over the years. And let me remind you again, it's not all students who are not wearing the hijab. Most of the students were wearing the hijab, except for 2 students who were not wearing the hijab earlier and then took up to wearing the hijab just in a symbolic protest to support their sisters who are, according to them, being heckled by the management to take off their hijab. So this has now really become such a huge concern for college authorities themselves there, Sneha. It seems like college authorities, unfortunately, now are stuck in the middle of their very dear students and the government, who's now imposed a ban. But at the end of it, a rule is a rule, Sneha. If the court comes up with an order that says uniformity is must inside educational institutions, be it private, be it government, or if it upholds the government's order on a ban inside government institutions to wear a hijab, then there is no choice but for the girls to shun their hijab before they enter their classrooms. If not, find the institution of their choice.
Yes.
And again, to remind you, minority institutions have their own rules. Minority institutions can allow girls to wear hijab inside. If they want to choose that, they could. Words of the government of Karnataka.
Absolutely. Nabila clarifying that for us, that minority institutions have their own set of rules. So